Dear students, the first introductory address is on precious human life and its proper building. We will discuss the same in four parts. The first part is precious human life and its proper building. In this universe, everything is changing and going through the process of evolution in accordance with the laws of nature. The lowest of the creation, that is, the inanimate stones and mountains, evolve into living plants and trees. Plants and trees evolve into insects and animals. Insects and animals evolve into human beings, the crown of the creation. Then the turn comes for human beings to evolve and transform themselves into divinity, the state of their Creator Himself, and get united or merged with the Creator. This is known as moksha, or liberation of the individual soul from the bondage of births and deaths, or merge of the individual soul with the Supreme Soul. This is also called self-realization or God realization. On attainment of liberation of the individual soul, the process of evolution gets completed, and consequently the individual soul does not take further rebirth. Such liberation of the individual soul alone bestows everlasting happiness and eternal peace, and liberation of the individual soul alone results in permanent cessation of worldly sorrows, sufferings, and miseries in human life. Our great, glorious, lofty, unique, and ideal ancient Indian culture, our Bharatiya Sanskriti, and our ancient spiritual scriptures, as well as our rishis, munis, saints, and sages, say that such liberation of the individual soul is the higher purpose or the supreme purpose of human life. For achievement of the said purpose, only the Creator has gifted this human birth to human beings after they have taken their innumerable births in 84 lakh species of life, including the life of plants, trees, insects, birds, and animals. Therefore, human birth is a rare and precious gift of God to human beings. Our ancient spiritual scriptures, as well as our rishis, munis, saints, and sages, further say that attainment of liberation of the individual soul, the higher purpose or the supreme purpose of human life, is possible only in human birth and no other species of life. Because only human beings, but no other living beings, have been endowed with the unique quality of intellect. And with the help of their intellect, human beings can discriminate between right and wrong, and they can choose to take right actions, proceed in the right path of life, and make their best endeavors for attainment of liberation of the individual soul in their present human birth. In this way, they can live their precious human life wisely, purposefully, successfully, and ideally, unlike the animals that take their birth and instinctively search their food, eat, sleep, procreate, enjoy, suffer, fear, and ultimately meet with their death, and thus live their life purposelessly and sorrowfully. So, if human beings do not attain liberation of their individual souls in this present rare and precious human birth itself, they lose this unique golden opportunity of human life. They do not get liberation from the cycle of births and deaths, and they continue to take rebirths innumerable times, life after life, in 84 lakhs of species of life, including the life of plants and trees and insects and animals. And consequently, they continue to get sorrows and sufferings in whatever species of life they are given, because life upon earth plane in any species is full of sorrows, sufferings, and miseries. Therefore, our ancient spiritual scriptures and our rishis, munis, saints, and sages exhort time and again that human beings should be wise and make their best endeavors to attain moksha or liberation of the individual soul in their present human birth itself by living what is called spiritual life. The spiritual life is vitally necessary, most indispensable, and extremely important for human beings, and therefore it should be lived successfully. While living the spiritual life, human beings live upon this earth plane for some period. For survival of their physical body during such period, they need to simultaneously take to some income generating activities through some profession, vocation, occupation, business, agriculture, etc. And through such activity, they earn their livelihood in order to meet their basic necessities of life, such as food, clothing, housing, medicines, etc. They also make endeavors for achieving economic prosperity and material development, and for acquiring properties or assets like cash, gold ornaments, electronic equipments, modern gadgets, motor cars, land, buildings, etc., for living a reasonably comfortable life for themselves and for their family members, and for fulfilling their various types of vital physical, biological, psychological, and other worldly desires. They also need money and wealth in order to arrange for better education for their children in reputed educational institutions, ceremonious marriages of their sons or daughters with good candidates in socially renowned and economically wealthy families, and to meet their various kinds of social and other requirements befitting their family and their social status, etc. In this way, they make endeavors to live their earthly life comfortably and happily. Such life is called secular life. Secular life is also necessary. It is important and inevitable and is to be lived successfully. When human beings are to live both spiritual life and secular life successfully in their present human birth, one can visualize how great and valuable this precious human life upon this earth plane is. The second part is on great goals of precious human life and their achievement. It would be observed from the previous address on precious human life and its proper building that human beings need to live spiritual life in order to attain of liberation of their individual souls from the bondage of births and deaths, which is called merger or union of the individual soul with the supreme soul, or self-realization or God realization or moksha, and that this is the higher purpose or supreme purpose of their precious human life. According to our great, glorious, lofty, unique and ideal ancient Indian culture or Bharatiya Sanskriti, and as stated in our ancient spiritual scriptures, and as said by our rishis, munis, saints and sages, this higher purpose or the supreme purpose of liberation of individual souls from the cycle of births and deaths or attainment of moksha is one of the great goals of the rare and precious human life, and that this goal is the supreme great goal of precious human life. Achievement of this supreme great goal of precious human life is indispensable for living an ideal, successful, happy and peaceful human life upon this earth plane. Thus, moksha is said to be the supreme goal of precious human life. It would further be observed from the said address that while living the spiritual life, human beings need to live secular life. Human beings need to live this secular life also for two purposes. The first purpose of living of secular life is to earn money and acquire material prosperity in order to meet their basic necessities of life, for ensuring their physical existence upon this earth plane and to meet their other personal, family, social, and national needs. According to our great, glorious, lofty, unique, and ideal ancient Indian culture, our Bharatiya Sanskriti, and as stated in our ancient spiritual scriptures, and as said by our rishis, munis, saints, and sages, this purpose of earning money and acquiring material prosperity, called artha, is another great goal of precious human life. Achievement of this great goal of precious human life is inevitable for living a prosperous and happy human life upon this earth plane from secular point of view. The second purpose of living of secular life is that human beings earn money and acquire material prosperity, and with the help of the same, they also fulfill their various vital, physical, biological, psychological, and other worldly desires. According to our great, glorious, lofty, unique, and ideal ancient Indian culture, our Bharatiya Sanskriti, and as our ancient spiritual scriptures, as well as our rishis, munis, saints, and sages say, this purpose of fulfilling their various types of vital worldly desires, called kama, is another great goal of precious human life. Achievement of this great goal of precious human life is inevitable for living a satisfying, contented, comfortable, and happy human life upon this earth plane from secular point of view. Still, there is another purpose of precious human life which we will discuss now. In connection with the above two great goals, that is artha and kama, the most important and the most relevant point to be noted is that artha, that is earning of money and acquiring of material wealth, need to be performed by human beings in the ethical way or righteous way or in accordance with the ethical code of conduct, that is by honest and fair means without causing harm or loss to other beings as prescribed in our ancient spiritual scriptures, so that it does not give them sorrows, sufferings, and miseries, but instead bestow true prosperity, real happiness, and peace upon them, and that the kama or the vital, physical, biological, mental, emotional, and psychological desires of human beings need to be moral, ethical, legitimate, and justifiable ones, and that such desires ought to be kept to the minimum but adequate for living a reasonably satisfying and comfortable life, so that it does not give them sorrows and sufferings but instead bestows happiness and peace upon them. That means both the said great goals, that is artha and kama, are to be achieved in accordance with the ethical code of conduct or by following the rules of ethics, which is known as dharma in our ancient spiritual scriptures. Therefore, according to our great, glorious, lofty, unique, and ideal ancient Indian culture, our Bharatiya Sanskriti, and as stated in our ancient spiritual scriptures, and as said by our rishis, munis, saints, and sages, adherence to ethical code of conduct or dharma in all actions and all activities in our day-to-day life is another great goal of precious human life. Dharma is said to be the first, foremost, fundamental, and foundational great goal of precious human life, because it governs both artha and kama and leads to moksha, the other three great goals of precious human life. Adherence to ethical code of conduct or dharma is indispensable for living an ideal, successful, happy, and peaceful human life upon this earth plane. The above four great goals of precious human life are known in our ancient spiritual scriptures as moksha, artha, kama, and dharma, and have been placed in the right order as dharma, artha, Kama, and Moksha. These four great goals are called Purusartha Chatushtaya in our ancient spiritual scriptures. Further, our great, glorious, lofty, unique, and ideal Indian culture, or Bharatiya Sanskriti, regard Dharma and Moksha as the primary great goals of precious human life and place Artha and Kama in the secondary position. Human beings need to achieve all these four great goals of human life so that living of their precious human life upon this earth plane becomes ideal, successful, complete, purposeful, prosperous, happy, and peaceful, and thereby they derive lasting happiness and eternal peace with permanent cessation of sorrows and sufferings of human life. This is tremendously necessary as well as extremely important. From this discussion, one can visualize how great are the above four great goals of precious human life and how necessary and important it is for human beings to achieve all these four great goals of precious human life so that they can live their precious human life upon this earth plane ideally, successfully, completely, purposefully, prosperously, happily, and peacefully. When human life upon this earth plane is so precious, and when human beings need to achieve all the four great goals of ideal human life for living their precious human life ideally, successfully, completely, purposefully, prosperously, happily, and peacefully, one can visualize how important it is to build this precious human life rightly, and that too at the right time of life. This is tremendously necessary as well as extremely important. Now two questions arises. The first question is how human beings need to build their precious human life rightly, and the second question is which is the right time of precious human life to build the same rightly. First, we will discuss the second question, that is, which is the right time of precious human life to build the same rightly. In the next address on golden student life and youth period, the right period of building of human life, and then we will discuss the first question, how human beings need to build their precious human life rightly. In the subsequent address on right ways of life building and successful living, a brief outline. The third part is on golden student life and youth period, the right period of building of precious human life. Now we will discuss the second question, that is, which is the right period of precious human life to build the same rightly in this write-up. According to our great, glorious, lofty, unique, and ideal ancient Indian culture, or Bharatiya Sanskriti, and as stated in our ancient spiritual scriptures, human life has four stages, that is, student life, household life, retired life, and renounced life. Those stages of human life are stated in our ancient spiritual scriptures as Brahmacharya Asrama, Gruhastha Asrama, Vanaprastha Asrama, and Sannyasa Asrama. The precious human life is built during Brahmacharya Asrama, the first part of human life, that is the stage of student life and youth period of say 20 to 25 years. This is the right time for human beings to build their life rightly, because this period is the formative stage in the life of human beings, and during this period human physique is generally found in a growing state, and human mind remains tender, lies in a highly impressionable state, and is very receptive. Therefore, it is very easy for human beings to build their life rightly during this period of human life. Students can build their precious human life rightly during their Brahmacharya Asrama, that is their student life and youth period, by laying the foundation of their life properly and strongly, and by constructing the superstructure of their future life upon the same completely, properly, strongly, and nicely. If they can do so, they can leave the remaining three parts, which is a long period of their precious life, say ideally 75 years, in Grihasthasrama, Vanaprasthasrama, and Sannyasasrama, ideally successfully, completely, purposefully, prosperously, happily, and peacefully. Thus, precious human life can be said to be lived ideally. Hence, this short student life and youth period of say 20 to 25 years is the golden period of human life, and is meant also it is most suitable for building of the precious human life. Therefore, students need to utilize this golden period of human life for building their precious human life rightly. But once the student life and youth period, the golden period, passes away, it will be extremely difficult for students to lay the foundation of their precious human life properly and strongly at a later stage. This can be explained with the help of an example. That is, a potter can give any shape to raw clay mixed with water to make various type of earthenware such as pots, cups, bowls, plates, glasses, toys, etc. He can also change the shape of one type of raw earthenware to another type, because at this stage the wet raw clay remains soft and therefore it is amenable to any kind of change. But once the shaped wet raw earthenware is burnt in the fire, the same becomes hard and not amenable to change, and thereafter the potter cannot change the shape of the burnt and hardened earthenware. Therefore, students need to utilize this golden student life and youth period of their life most profitably for laying the foundation of their precious human life properly and strongly. But if they don't do so during their golden student life and youth period, they can't lay a proper and strong foundation of their life in the latter stage of their precious human life. And also, upon a weak foundation of their life, they may not be able to construct the superstructure of their future precious human life completely, properly, strongly, and nicely. Consequently, they may not be able to live their future precious human life ideally, successfully, completely, purposefully, prosperously, happily, and peacefully. In that case, they are most likely to spend the remaining long period of their precious human life of say ideally 75 years with failures, sorrows, sufferings, miseries, unhappiness, and peacelessness. And in the event of such a state of things, they will have to lament and repent throughout their whole long life. Now, the second question is, how students need to build their precious human life rightly during their golden student life and youth period, so that they can live their future precious human life ideally, successfully, completely, purposefully, prosperously, happily, and peacefully. We will discuss a brief outline of the same in the next address, right ways of life building and successful living, a brief outline. The fourth part is on right ways of building of precious human life, a brief outline. Now we will discuss the first question, that is, how human beings need to build their precious human life rightly. Human beings need to build their precious human life rightly during their golden student life and youth period, the first part of their life of say 20 to 25 years, so that they can live the remaining three parts of their precious human life, which is a long period of say ideally 75 years, ideally and successfully, that is economically and materially prosperously, as well as spiritually happily and peacefully. They can build their precious human life rightly by laying the foundation of their life properly and strongly, and by constructing the superstructure of their future life upon the same completely, properly, strongly, and nicely. Building a precious and human life rightly by laying its foundation properly and strongly and constructing its superstructure completely, properly, strongly, and nicely can be well understood in the analogy of a house building. The foundation of a house building is laid generally with four concrete foundation pillars. Thereby, the foundation of the house building becomes proper and strong. And upon such a well laid foundation, the superstructure of the house building can be constructed completely, properly, strongly, and nicely. Similarly, the foundation of human life needs to be laid with four foundation pillars. They are good physical health, powerful mind, noble character, and ethical conduct with strict observance of complete celibacy. Thereby, the foundation of human life becomes proper and strong, and upon such a well laid foundation, the superstructure of the human life can be constructed completely, properly, strongly, and nicely. The superstructure of a house building is constructed with four essential facilities. They are bathroom, kitchen, bedroom, and puja room or a prayer room. With these facilities, the superstructure of a house building becomes complete, proper, strong, and nice, and human beings can live therein smoothly, comfortably, happily, and peacefully. Similarly, the superstructure of human life is constructed with the achievement of four grand goals of ideal human life. They are adherence to righteousness or dharma, achievement of economic prosperity or artha, fulfillment of vital worldly desires or kama, and attainment of spiritual illumination for liberation of soul from the cycle of births and deaths or moksha. These four grand goals are called ethical value, economic value, vital value, and spiritual value. These are the four grand goals according to our great, glorious, lofty, unique, and ideal ancient Indian culture or Bharatiya Sanskriti. These four grand goals have been prescribed in our ancient spiritual scriptures with a view that living a precious human life upon the earth plane becomes ideal, complete, successful, purposeful, prosperous, happy, and peaceful. With the achievement of these four grand goals, the superstructure of precious human life becomes complete, proper, strong, and nice, and human beings can live their precious life upon the earth plane ideally and successfully, that is, economically and materially prosperously, as well as spiritually happily and peacefully. If a house building is built rightly in the above manner, that is, if the foundation of the house building is laid properly and strongly, and if the superstructure of the house building is constructed thereupon completely, properly, strongly, and nicely, human beings can live their entire future life in that building smoothly, comfortably, happily, and peacefully. Similarly, during the golden student life and youth period, the first part of human life, if student beings build their precious life rightly in the manner stated, that is, if they lay the foundation of their life properly and strongly, and if they construct the superstructure of their future life upon the same completely, properly, strongly, and nicely, they can live the remaining three parts of their precious human life, which is a long period of their life, say to 75 years, successfully and ideally, that is, economically and materially prosperously, as well as spiritually happily and peacefully. In other words, they can live their precious human life successfully, completely, purposefully, prosperously, happily, and peacefully. Thus, precious human life upon the earth plane can be said to be lived ideally. This is a brief outline of the subject of life building and successful living. Students need to acquire knowledge on the subject of life building and successful living, that is, insert life building science. Apart from acquiring knowledge on various secular subjects in their schools, colleges, and universities through life building, character building and man making education. Such education comprises teachings mainly on moral values, ethical values, religious values, and spiritual values, and therefore such education is called value education in the modern time. Acquiring knowledge about these subjects by students during their golden student life and youth period is vitally necessary, extremely important, and most worthwhile. After acquiring such knowledge, they can practice the knowledge so gained in their daily life and build their life rightly, that is, completely, properly, strongly, and nicely. Thereby, they can live their precious and rare human life ideally and successfully, that is, economically and materially prosperously, as well as spiritually, happily, and peacefully. What is life building, character building, and man making education or value education? That is a question that comes to our mind. We will discuss the same in our next address.